Welcome back to the section with polity series. So we are discussing about the sources of Indian Constitution. So we are irregular to the pattern, but this is a easy scoring topic because recent times they are asking a little bit of the borrowed features of Indian Constitution. So this is part 1 of the section, and I will be discussing again this is 1 2 3 5 right. So I discuss another 6 sources in the next part. So let us complete these 5 first. Okay. So before getting independence, so there is a Government of Indian Act. There are a number of acts, but in this particular act there are some features which are borrowed. Like in this features there are different similar features from other countries also. You can observe here, right? So the federal schemes, the federal comes under the Canadian Constitution. Office of Governor, of course, the Office of Governor also, like from the Canadian Constitution. Judiciary with respect to US Constitution, and Public Service Commissions, and emergency provisions, and administrative details like distribution of powers between the state and central is from Australia. I didn't tell you Australia, but I'll tell in the next part. Okay, these are the sources that are borrowed from in Government of Indian Act 1935. That is federal schemes, Office of Governor, Judiciary, and Public Service Commissions, emergency provisions and administrative details, and distribution of powers between state and center. Okay, and coming to the British Constitution, we have a parliamentary government and rule of law, legislative procedure. So what is mean parliamentary government? So some elections will be held every 5 years. After 5 years, every 5 years, so there will be a new government form, and this parliamentary government will have Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. That completely speaks about the parliamentary government and rule of law, legislative procedure, and single citizenship. Yes, one country that is called India have a single citizenship. Like if you opt for British citizenship, then you automatically disqualify for the Indian citizenship. So that is the meaning of single citizenship. And the cabinet system, so we have a prime minister, and below the prime minister we have a cabinet of ministers, right? COM we call cabinet of ministers. So that is how the cabinet of system forms here, because these cabinet systems will be working with closely with president also. I will tell this story in next part. Excuse me. Okay, and we have writs, and writs is really important topic. I will make a separate video on it, and I will deal with this in a very detailed way. So don't need to worry about it. You just read that. So the British Constitution having some particular features that are borrowed from to the Indian Constitution. So just read these, the borrowed features. That's it. You have a glance. This is just a glance about the Constitution features which are borrowed from different countries. Okay. And the bicameralism. What do you mean by bicameralism? It is a state and center, or we can say Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, the ruling of a nation. Okay. And we have a US Constitution. In US Constitution we borrowed fundamental rights. The fundamental rights are really important. I will tell you in detail regarding the fundamental rights in the very next video, or upcoming videos, because we will start about with articles from 1 to 36 we will deal. So from 1 to 36 we will deal about the fundamental rights, and after that we have DPSPs and all. I will deal with each and everything completely with pinpoint. So from US Constitution we have borrowed fundamental rights, independence of judiciary, so that in judiciary can work for giving justice to the peoples or society or any private sector or public sector, and judicial review and impeachment of president. To remove the president, there will be some protocols and rules, like 14 days of notice. Okay, I'll tell you in the topic of president. Okay, and removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges and Vice President post. Recently Jagdeep Dhankar has resigned due to some health issues. So he has resigned. So it's a very natural form. Now there will be some elections for the Vice President post in India. Maybe we should see who will win for the next Vice President post. And from Irish Constitution we have DPSPs. So DPSPs is nothing but directive principles of state policies. Okay, and nomination of members to the Rajya Sabha and method of election of president. So how the president will be elected? How the president will be elected. The method, the process, the step-by-step process will lead everything by center. Yes, of course the president will be elected by the center. Whoever forms the government in center, so they will be deciding who will contest as a president. And also we have a Canadian constitution. So the federation with a strong center, because in our country, center is central, like the parliament is the biggest thing to control the nation, right? So it has each and everything power to decide what to do, what not to do, whether to divide a state or to merge a state, to rename it, the state. The complete powers has the federation with a strong center when comparing to the state. Okay, and vesting the residuary powers in the center. Okay, and appointment of state governors by center and advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. All this comes under and borrowed from Canadian Constitution to Indian Constitution. Okay. So this is a very really important thing you should learn. First, let us quick recap. So, Government of Indian Act 1935, federal schemes, office of governors, judiciary, public service commissions, emergency provisions and administrative details, and distribution of powers between the state and center. Actually, this also comes under the Australian Constitution. Okay. And the parliamentary form of government and rule of law, legislative procedures, single citizenship, cabinet system, writs are really important, and parliament privileges and bicameralism. And with respect to US Constitution, we have fundamental rights. Okay, independence of judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of president, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, and Vice President posts. In USA, the good thing to tell about in US judges have no retirement, retirement time. That is a lifetime post in US. The judges in US has a lifetime post till they die. They live as a judge. Apart from they resign or do anything, they live as a judge. And coming to the Irish Constitution, we have DPSPs, nomination of members of Rajya Sabha, and method of election of president. The method is borrowed from Irish Constitution, where the nomination of Rajya Sabha, and from Canadian Constitution we have a federal with a strong center and vesting of residuary powers in the center, and appointment of state governors by center, and advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So that is all for today. I will meet you in the next part. That is part 2. We will learn there and remaining 6 other countries' constitution which have we borrowed to form an Indian constitution. Thank you. Have a nice day.